If you know you're gifted, special, / have a call in your life, anointed or prophetic pretty much, you get told you have magical thinking and a savior complex from CPTSD. Like, I used to think about this a lot when I was sick, and I would even have like mild after daydreams of different things that would happen to me eventually, and I mean like helping people and stuff like that. And I remember back when I was 14 and I first when I was whatever age and I first was advised to get on Reddit by somebody in my comment sections of my abuse evidence videos. I went to a couple of different subs and I found the CPTSD sub, and somebody was talking about how they would like think that the reason that so many bad things were happening to them was because they were special and they had a special purpose in life and they were supposed to be like a superhero. And honestly, that's the reality. But the medical system will tell you that you just have magical thinking and a savior complex from CPTSD if the doctor wants to be nice. If not, you may get called schizo with grandiose delusions or a god complex or something. Or you may get the OCD label and you'll get told you're delusional. You may get told you're a narc, especially if you're a dude maybe. Or a sociopath / ASPD. I just want to throw this in here for the next bullet point. The spirit of religion causes religious OCD. Because I'm getting kind of flashbacky, or I've been kind of flashbacky. Next bullet point. Pastor Stephen Darby once warned that in the last days, true followers of the way and people who are grounded in reality will be told that they have something, like some type of disorder. As usual, I have to throw something in here that I just thought about, and also kind of forgot. We can already see the NWO of religion unfolding. Like with American or white American supremacy, because I won't even say European supremacy. The white American supremacy and Christian and the Protestant, which is Christian, and the pagan Roman Catholic hijackings of the Bible. You can see the 10 Commandments being enforced in the schools and different things like that, and all the stuff that's going on with NAZISism and how all that goes hand in hand. And if you don't believe the flipped around, not even just European, but specifically white American religious doctrine, then you're going to be the enemy, or you already are the enemy, really. Next bullet point. ASPD / sociopath. People often think of the Manchurian Candidate and Delta Assassin, false flag skull hoopers, if you know what that means, which some of those situations didn't happen at all. Or MK Ultra Freemasons like Charles Manson. No, he was an MK Ultra programmed person by the US government. So is Jeffrey Dahmer, but it was another dude whose name I can't remember. He was a Freemason who ran around eating people. Even the whole Texas Chainsaw situation, they were Freemasons and they did the things that they did for rituals. Like years and years ago, there was this case from like the 90s or the 80s. There's a video that's still out, I'm pretty sure, of a dude who is considered to have the 1,000-yard stare, whatever it's called. And he was talking about the situation with the Freemason bus driver, which actually a lot of bus drivers for school, and of course for Greyhound and stuff like that, they are Freemasons. He chopped off one of the kids' heads on the bus. He picked him for the ritual. There was that. So a lot of people are Freemasons that are doing like sacrificial rituals, but you're being told that they're just like mentally ill people and stuff like that, but that's not true. And people like Jeffrey Dahmer, you're told that those are psychopaths. That's not true. They're traumatized. They're taken through MK Ultra. They're created by the U.S. government to do the things that they do, to push G control, as I'll call it, or GUN control, and to fearmonger, and to be used as like media puppets, and put on Netflix shows and millions of movies and toys and stuff like that. And they're pushed down your throat to like encourage you and people under similar trauma-based mind control to become what they are. So there's that. Point is, they're created by the U.S. government. They're not real quote-unquote psychopaths or sociopaths, which I don't really believe in those labels anyways, but they're not really quote-unquote sociopaths. They're just MK Ultra puppets, Manchurian candidates, Freemason ritualists, and Delta assassins. And a lot of the points of these people is to push G control for martial law in the beast system, because for one, America is one of the nations where you can still like have weapons. Like in a lot of countries, you can't even have pepper spray. So there's that. Like in the UK, they're running around with pit bulls and stuff. That's why they really want to push this stuff down people's throats, aside from wanting people to look up to these messed up people who really aren't even real, because they're not over control of their own actions. They're programmed to do the things that they do. But no, by definition, Batman, vagabonds, nomads, natural livers, natural tribe, the unincorporated Amazon tribes, people like that are sociopaths by definition. Sociopath isn't really the actual clinical label. The clinical label is ASPD, which means antisocial personality disorder, which means anti-society. If you go against the beast system you'd be ASPD / enemy of the state, or anarchist, or criminal, or vigilante, etc. All those terms actually mean ASPD by definition. Even going back to the ODD thing with the abused boys, or really anybody, and how like if you try to say no to abuse, you'll be labeled off as ODD. When you're not doing what society wants you to do, or you're not a quote unquote normal member of society, and you're like living, I don't know, off grid in the Amazon jungle, that's considered ASPD by definition. Anyone who's smart, cares about their self, and cares about other people, and believes in justice, and wants to stand up for other people and help people, will protect their self and others, refuses to be abused, is ODD / ASPD. Or even you'll get told you're resilient to authority, which is not only a symptom of CPTSD, but it's what abusers say when they're mad that they haven't driven you crazy yet. Especially due to what I like to call Sixth Commandment culture, and how people feel like not letting people do whatever they want to you and other people is evil due to legalities that are made by abusers and chomos. A side note, it even makes me think about the spirit of gluttony thing and how like that's used against people often. And I wrote, if you're overweight with metabolic issues from standard American diet, parasites, plastics, metals, carbs, or are hypoglycemic and think you're a quote-unquote foodie, but really you're just starving, because that's what metabolic issues are, type 2 and type 1, starving while eating, then you're going to get maybe told that you have a spirit of gluttony. But if you're like me and you're underweight with metabolic issues and you eat a lot and you're hypoglycemic, you're not going to get told that you just need to stop eating and starve yourself and that you have the spirit of gluttony. I thought about this because it makes me think about the bias of a lot of this stuff, but I wrote some more about that. Americans are overweight and malnourished. The food is chemically enhanced to be addictive. Oh yeah, the other thing I wanted to throw in with that. The point of fat, or one of the points of fat, is to hold toxins. So another reason you're gonna get overweight is like pretty much it goes two ways. Just like when people are on substances, the person either has organ issues and brain damage and parasites build up and they become overweight, or depending on the person, it can go the exact opposite direction and they can become underweight. So like the toxins, because psychotropics, all drugs are toxins. All the bullcrap in the food is toxins, and your body tries to protect you by like holding on to the toxins, and so like they get stuck in your fat, just like with high fructose corn syrup. A lot of people think that like they just have like a big butt and stuff like that. They just think that like they're just big or they're just fat because they're eating a lot. No, it's toxins. People are walking around with kidney failure, lipedema, saying that they're just thick. Like, there was a point in time before the food got really bad where people only had alcoholic fatty liver or fatty pancreas and stuff like that if they were alcoholics. These days, a lot of kids and adults have it and don't even know it and never get diagnosed because of the food. But you're gonna get told, oh, you just need to stop eating and stuff like that, but it's deeper than that. Next thing, I believe that certain wiring and metabolic issues make you an easy target for demons. So like example, if you get depressed when your blood sugar is lower because of low insulin, which goes hand in hand anyways. You get depressed when you eat bread because of celiac disease, whatever metabolic issues, and you can't take carbs or FODMAPs or fat or protein, etc. I feel like that can like make it easier for demons to play games with you because like you're already susceptible to like stuff going kind of left, or the food messes up your cognitive ability. Seeing demonic things as demonic never hurts anyone, but psychiatry has always unalived babies, teens, children, adults, elderly till this day, because that's what it was made for. And you know, a lot of people think about psychiatry and they think about how it's made to explain away the demonic, but psychiatry was and still is ran by a lot of like new age witches and occultists and Freemasons and stuff. So like it was made by them, but they always try to play this like we're atheist game, and it's really interesting. But I threw that last bullet point in there because a lot of people say, oh, seeing this issue as demonic is dangerous in religious people, which I mean, I'm not for religion anyway, so that could mean like whatever in the world. But people say that like seeing the issues as demonic and spiritual puts the people in danger to be hurt. First of all, nobody's about to hurt somebody for that. Like, doing deliverance on somebody and admitting that they have these issues due to trauma would never has and never will unalive anybody. But psychiatry is made to unalive and torture and R-word and essay people, and they hurt people all day, every day. And I think something that a lot of people have to constantly remind people is that nobody cares about the new philosophy that some Caucasian dude made 2 seconds ago that has no backend, is known to not be true, and that they didn't even believe when they made it up. They just made it up to torture people and to have reason to essay people and for money. Next bullet point. So overall, on a large scale, mental illness isn't about demons or even the physical side. Mental illness isn't real on a large scale. It's an insult people throw at you when you tell them things that they don't want to hear, when you're telling them a reality that they don't want to believe, that keeps them from being able to go to sleep at night. My voice is probably really shaky. This is a really flashbacky topic. It's just an insult used by predatory people like abusers and Jezebelic schizonarchs like white supremacists and house N-words and house mongoloids. It's a big part of the caste system, hierarchy, in the cult of society, because for someone to be up, someone else has to be down. So like people will say things like, of course I'm better than a schizophrenic person that's walking around talking to themselves on the street, which that's not even like the average person with the schizo label. The homeless stereotype of schizophrenia is somebody who's been tortured and treated very, very poorly for their whole life and never was treated good enough, and they just split and fractured so much over time. That's like with the homeless stereotype of schizophrenia. Somebody who's been homeless since they were 7, 13, 14, whatever years old, getting essayed, charged, locked up, put in jail, called a bum, stuff like that for years on end until they eventually completely break. So there's that. But it's all a spectrum, and that's why I always mention that. And as I also often mention, a lot of those people have DID, but it all comes from trauma anyways. And it's really funny how Americans are so obsessed with mental illness and different made-up labels, but nobody ever thinks about or cares about how people actually get from the point to being a baby who's like singing the alphabets to walking around naked talking to themselves. Nobody ever thinks about that part because people don't care and they just feel like it can never be them. Even though it's like miraculous that a lot of people, and even myself, are like that. Because I mean, as I talk about, my older scapegoat sister was driven crazy, and shoot, that happened in a kind of short time frame. That's why made-up terms like SPED, which is a part of the school system branch of the Cash for Kids system, and the racial, behavioral, gifted, etc., and autism are insults. So like people should already know that things like SPED, autism, of course retarded, slow, 313, 504, IEP, things like that are used as insults these days. So like people will like short bus, and nobody really cares that much because they haven't been a victim of Ramco, and they just feel like it's what happens to the bad kids, quote unquote. Or some people know that it's mostly what happens to the quote unquote black kids, and so they don't care. Also schizophrenia, that's another insult to people who know what they're talking about, but melanated people in general, but I kind of went over that the whole video. Walk up to somebody, or like the white boys and white dudes who hate reality because it goes against their programming of white supremacy and fake history and different revisionist stuff. They will like use the insults of SPED and different things I can't really remember. And a lot of that stuff is racial as well. So like people should already know that like when it comes to the racial bed placements and the Jim Crow stuff in GA, whenever people didn't want melanated people in their school district, they wouldn't allow them to go to their schools. They would just put them in SPED. But the white supremacy was able to happen, and the person wouldn't just get homeschooled or something because the parents were already abusive. And as I've always said, Jezebelic house nigger abusive parents, and this includes like house mongoloids, whatever in the world, different melanated people that are like that, they enable you to go through a lot of all types of systematic racism, abusive stuff, because they get a kick out of it, because maybe they get money out of it, or they're just abusive themselves. And one of the things that I learned near the end of my abuse, well, not near the end, after escaping my abuse situation, is that to a certain extent my mom did think that people actually gave a crap about me or her, but nobody gave a crap about me or her. Once people were no longer able to get paid off of like helping her do abusive stuff, nobody gave a crap. She's still to this day expecting somebody to help her like throw me in a car and take me back to my abusive family system, but nobody's gonna do that because people only did stuff when they were getting paid, and only the Cash for Kids system staff and the human cash cow system staff like only they got paid for it. People will do like the Lucifer effect due to ageism, and they'll be like, well, you're a child, so you should be at home, but overall, nobody really cares. Due to the abuse evidence videos, and when I was in support groups, like, my mom would talk about my internet supporters, quote unquote, and I'd be like, I did not have internet supporters. I had evidence that I was making for no reason, really, but it's like, shoot, I guess she thought she had internet supporters too, but nobody gives a crap about me or her. So yeah, I wrote about how they're all insults. Meanwhile, the government has lists of people in these categories who can read minds. Next bullet point. Judah tribe Bantus talk with their hands and are known for clapping or snapping when they talk. Sometimes tied to the Jezebel spirit, but not always. But it can be tied to like the Marine Kingdom. Just like how people mention how like turned out dudes often act like the stereotypical quote-unquote black woman. So stuff like that. People get mad about that sometimes. Especially like these African channels that like try to chime in and make these videos about racial stuff in America. But what they don't get is that they're Africans. They're not quote-unquote black. And they don't really have anything to do with like the tribe Bantus and the culture and the issues and toxicity and different stuff. In fact, I wouldn't even say they don't know. Most of them, majority of them do know that, which is why they don't like assimilate. Because we are different ethnicities anywho. But some of them try to like act like people talking about the issues in like America is people talking about them. And it just shows that they've never been around any quote-unquote black people. That like happens here. Like they get mad about it because they don't get the like we're two different people in different cultures. And I've noticed that a lot of these different African channels have popped up since 2020 to help with like these different racial propaganda agendas. And I mean, some of them are definitely saying some true stuff, but it's like, there's a lot of stuff I could say about that. But anyhow. I've even seen the snapping thing like done in Cali where like instead of clapping during performances, people snap instead. I don't really know why, but point is, doctors started talking about all that and they were saying, their psychiatrists were saying that this is a part of autism and it's a part of a learning disability. So they'll be like, people who clap when they talk, they're autistic, or they would say they're quote-unquote retarded. This was specifically created for racial reasons. Next bullet point. Melanated people can't read, or as they would always say, but now anyone who can read is considered autistic with hyperlexia because so many Americans can't read. And the school system stopped teaching people how to read like a really, really, really long time ago, just like how they stopped teaching people grammar and punctuation and all that stuff. So, next bullet point. People's lives ruined by psychiatry. I've seen a situation of like this guy who unalived his whole family and blamed his sister because she had the schizophrenia label. Now, I don't know if she really has schizophrenia or not, but the fact that like that whole situation even happened, it showed how dysfunctional the family system was. And it would make sense if she was schizophrenic, and it would also make sense if she just had the schizophrenia label to try to cover up the family abuse. It's just like the situational therapist who got banned off of everything would talk about. Anytime you see a black family especially, or really any family, but especially a black family, where everybody or multiple people have the schizophrenia label, and typically they don't even have schizophrenia, you know a whole bunch of crap is going on in that family. And in those family systems, even if the person is fully grown, like a 40-year-old man, the mom, the dad, the whole family will want to sit in on their therapy sessions to make sure the person doesn't speak out on the abuse and trauma. And then the therapist dude was like, he would ask them, okay, well, I'm having therapy with him, or I'm having therapy with her. Why are all these people sitting up in here? And that's how it goes, too. It's honestly so funny. This is why I always tell people with mixed kid trauma that had stereotypical quote-unquote black dad and quote-unquote white mom that get together based off of Marine kingdoms and hatred of quote-unquote black women, which I talk about pretty often. I always tell them, you're not missing out on anything. You went through the same exact thing. Because these systems are put in place to make the dysfunctional and abusive people feel like, well, it's not my fault, it's not my problem, they're the problem. That's pretty much what it's all made for. But yeah, so, anywho, going back to the original story with the criminal case. If I can find it, I'll put like the article and video in the description or whatever, but that lady was in prison for years on end of her life until somewhat recently because of DNA research and stuff like that. So like now with the DNA stuff for criminology or whatever, or I think it's called forensics, they were able to find out, oh, she didn't do it, her brother did it. But he was able to unalive the whole family and blame her, the sister, because she had the schizo label. And like I've said since I was 6 and mentioned often, regardless of what you do or don't do, you're in trouble anyways. And then another thing is that one thing the human cash cow systems and the cash for kids system teach you is that you can always be locked away and spend the rest of your life locked away, being tortured, even be unalived for something that you didn't do, that everybody already knows you didn't do. And stuff like that really does resonate with me because I remember on my abuse evidence channels, I had videos of my mom's boyfriend and my younger siblings talking about how my mom's boyfriend, and videos of him talking about wanting to unalive everybody and blame me because he was going to blame me and then tell the police that I did it because I'm schizo. And that's like, stuff like that happens all the time. Next bullet point. The real creator of The Matrix talked about the reason behind, or the meaning behind the movie and why she made it. She talked about the Bible and the meaning behind the movie with the JS initials. I think it was JS. I could be wrong. Maybe it was JC. But she talked about how, like, somebody in the movie, their initials stand for, like, Jesus Christ or something like that, and somebody represented an angel. There's videos out there for talking about it. I can't remember exactly what it was. Similar to, like, Star Wars. And she talked about the meaning of the word matrix and how, like, in certain Bible translation, it says out of the woman's matrix. She talked about her Native American heritage type stuff and, like, different cultural wisdom and how she was a prodigy and different stuff like that pretty much. And, of course, what did white people do? White people said she was obviously a delusional, grandiose, schizophrenic conspiracy theorist with religious fervor who wishes she made the movie, because they said that all the biblical stuff that she talked about, all the spiritual stuff, wasn't real. And then, of course, a lot of white people are going to be mad that she said she's Native American. And it's like, do people not get the point of the movie? Like, the point of the movie is literally, like, the point... I don't even like the term conspiracy theory. That was made, like, to manipulate people. I'm not even going to go into all that, but it's like the movie itself is kind of like conspiracy theory, if that even makes sense. So it's like you're calling her a schizophrenic, delusional conspiracy theorist for talking about a movie that pretty much is considered a conspiracy theory movie. And then, of course, due to the white supremacist philosophies of atheism and logic and the idea that spirituality stuff isn't real, or it's for stupid melanated people who are poor, need an imaginary friend and a sky daddy. All that stuff that white people say especially. Which didn't happen until they got mad at the Greek gods, because they started off as Druids, and everyone already knows that the Gentiles, which they are the ones who inherited the gospel and then flipped it around, and that turned into humanism and went downhill from there. But they did believe in spiritual stuff too originally. Shoot, once more people started saying that Jesus isn't white and wasn't white, a lot of them started going back to their pagan roots anyways. They're saying all that and they're calling her crazy because they believe, due to white supremacy and the brainwashing that they have around that everybody really has around it, they believe that people who don't believe what white people say are insane. If you don't believe what some white dude said that really didn't even believe what he said, because the people that made these atheist philosophies were Freemason Luciferians anyways, they just wanted you to believe that they didn't believe in God or the devil. Just like that, kind of like that whole China Ann McClain rant from a couple years ago. They wanted you to believe that none of that stuff was real, so they pushed atheism down your throat, even though they themselves weren't even atheists. You hold up the white supremacist philosophy of atheism, and so anybody who doesn't believe in science and logic is a schizophrenic black cult leader, because every time we do something, it's a cult. Even if it is a cult, we go to jail first, but they're kidnapping people with the Catholic Church and the Church of Scientology, but that's okay. But it's like, what in the world? It's just really crazy. Not to mention their butt-naked nudist family cults that are just considered A-OK and Cowley. But something I completely forgot to mention, though, with this. Another reason that white people were mad about the whole thing with the Matrix is because another brainwashing that they have from the white supremacist occultic philosophies and trauma-based mind control that everybody's under is that melanated people aren't capable of creating everything, or creating anything, even though we created everything. Because the revisionist history that flipped everything around, and of course the Rev 29s are bringing out fallen angel beast system technology like cell phones and stuff, and so like it made white people, especially lower level Caucasians that the real white supremacists at the top don't even like, they feel like they're connected to these people, so like it adds to their complex, kind of like how they brag about how they made GUNs, even though really that's fallen angel technology, but then they also project like the whole GUN thing and issues on other people, especially with the stereotypical is it 50 or is it 100% of the crime? I can't even remember how that thing typically goes, but that they project on the melanated people with GUN crimes, even though they would always brag about how they made the GUNs and they used them and everybody else had sticks or something like that that's not even true either. But I talk about the confusion and even the war between the white supremacists at the top and the ones at the bottom pretty often. But in their eyes, even though Judah Tribe Bantus created all the music genres and plenty of other things, melanated people as a whole aren't capable of creating anything, so she has to be a crazy schizophrenic liar for saying that she made the movie. That's exactly why I say all of this stuff is insult labels for predatory people who pretty much are mad because you're not telling them what they want to hear. Next bullet point: covert and subconscious racist white savior liberals see quote-unquote black people as crazy religious people and also crazy religious homophobic people. A lot of them will tell you this, especially on the West Coast. They've also been really ingrained to like merge slavery with European hijacking of Christendom, as they call it, and give Caucasian Europeans credit for the Bible and other stuff like that. Even though they've never created a religion, they've only changed the image of the gods in their names, or translated their names, which is one of the reasons why names shouldn't be translated. But like, not only do they feel like melanated people as a whole are crazy religious people, that they're smarter than, but they also feel like it's just due to like colonization and white supremacy, because they have this fake white savior, fake anti-racism way about themselves, because that's how the socialist social justice warriors are. So they feel like if they could just get melanated people to not be spiritual people that really everybody was at one point, but that we've always been, then we'd be free from colonization, even though it's not true that Caucasian Europeans have ever made a religion. Many white people believe God is for stupid, poor people with trauma who need a friend or don't want to take accountability and get a job. There's a lot of stuff that could go along with that, but white boys and men are the biggest trolls, which even Pastor Stephen Darby talked about this. He even had a whole video where he talked about, of course, the AI fake bots that are there for like rage bait, but also he talked about how white people are the trolls. But a lot of people have noticed, even white women have noticed it, like it's mostly white men and even boys too. But anyway, white boys and men are the biggest trolls because people who expose truth and mention things that go against their whitewash and revisionist programming make them upset pretty much. And so, moral of the story is mental illness demonic or is it physical? On a large scale, it's not even real anyways. It's just an insult. It's something used by abusers and predatory people to gaslight and brainwash.